Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to SimPlay Motorsport. Another week of racing and another night's worth of action here at SimPlay Motorsport, ready to go for the 11th week of the season. I'm just making sure sound and everything is working perfectly fine, and it does sound good to me. And I said, looking forward to another fun night's worth of racing here for week 11 of the championship here at Snetterton, one of the home of the British circuits. And what a circuit we have for you this evening. Obviously the Whodarron Cup, the Ginetta GT4 Championship out on circuit right now. And we'll see what these guys are able to do in these cars. And obviously I've just been disconnected from the server, so that's fantastic. So as that's happened, I have a quick run through of the Drivers' Championship standings as I get myself back into the server. But it's Kieran O'Reilly who leads the way, but he is not here this evening. So it looks like we've completely lost the server now. So, and oh no, I just lost the server. Fantastic. Kieran O'Reilly leads the championship, but obviously he is not here this evening. He has declined for this evening's race, and he has got quite a significant lead, so he is able to keep that lead quite comfortably ahead of Matthew Duffin, who is 436 points behind. In third place is Will Friedman. He's trying to hunt down Duffin as quickly as he possibly can. And McGowan is in P4. All four of those guys are still mathematically in the championship. But how long it's going to last? O'Reilly could have won the title tonight, but with him not racing this evening either, that's really opened the door for any of the guys to basically score some good points here tonight. Darren Yeo sits 5th in the championship with Goudet just behind him in P6. Matt Wright sits in P7 with Ramsell in P8. Skunky in P9 with Leach in P10. Langley in P11 with Aberdeen in 12th. Millington sits 13th with Varga 14th. Flop in 15th with Tipping in 16th. Cherrymore in 17th with Archer 18th. Cranes in 19th with Bolton in 20th. Marsden 21st with DeBont sat in 22nd. Smith sat in 23rd with Taylor 24th. Bell 25th. Hoffner 26th. Hovrath in 27th, Stardog 28th, Johnson 29th, Storick in 30th, Cox 31st, Cummings 32nd, Williams in 33rd, Best in 34th, and Raiden in 35th position. Regarding your team's championship, it is Dapper Racing still leading the way with 188 points. Obviously with no O'Reilly tonight. I've been disconnected once again, so here we go. Some issues coming now. TGBR sat in P2nd. They're going to bring the gap down. There's 188 points separating them. In SimPlay Racing, it's not a million miles away behind either. We're only 230 behind the leaders. So I get back into the server once again. Greasy Bandits Racing sat P4 and Team RRM in P5. Quantum Racing in P6. Piston Pounders in P7. P8 is Ball Busters Racing with P9 is CGT Motorsport. And once again, I'll get myself back into the server as quickly as I possibly can. And now my game has completed. Oh, no. Look at it. It's fabulous stuff from ACC. As we now get back into the server once again. CGT Motorsport sat in P9 with Roadrunners Motors in P10. The GD Racing in P11. P12 is Team Autosport with 13th going away with Lexi's Industries Racing. 14th is Bluntfort Racing. Soldor Racing in P15. OWR Racing in P16. 2Cs Racing in P17. 18th is Team FBR and Apex Racing in 19th place position. I've been disconnected once again, so this is actually going brilliantly right now. So what I'm going to do is go to a quick break, and I'll be back in a few moments time, hopefully with the server and my game sorted. So I'll be back in a few moments time. Now hopefully, fingers crossed, that may have helped or might have sorted the problems, but we shall see. It seems like a few of the drivers actually seem to be struggling with connections as well. Storrick's been disconnected, Archer as well, as has Matt Wright, I believe, as well. So I decided to restart the PlayStation, oh well, not the PlayStation, the game anyway, and see if that will work. But Cherry Moore looking like another driver that was disconnected as well. So could be an interesting night ahead of us with disconnections and myself being booted constantly. So we will try our very best to bring all the action. But we are here at Snetterton for the next round of the season. A circuit that is a love or hate relationship with the track. For me, it tends to be one of the, not the better circuits that Britain has to offer. But nonetheless, it does produce some great action, especially when it rains around here. When the rain comes down here, it definitely produces some entertaining racing nonetheless. But we are looking forward to the Ginettas around here, and I think being that the Ginetta used to be on the package for the British Touring Car Championship, it should be very interesting to see how these guys all work through that. Chase in the chat saying let's go Gray. First qualifying session of the evening, and it is a 10-minute qualifying session as they get themselves out on track. And it's Duffin, the first one out on circuit. And the way tonight is going to work, it works like this. We start it's a 20-minute race night. Excuse me. It's a 20-minute race with the first qualifying session being only 10 minutes and then the other 2 qualifying sessions being 7 minutes, so a shortened qualifying session. So really you only get a couple of minutes a lap to really get a good lap time on the board. No pit stops required, and we have championship ballast. Regarding the ballast this evening, we only have a handful of drivers carrying the ballast. And it looks like they're not carrying the ballast. So no ballast on board by the looks of things, so no handicap. Who is favourite for pole? Is either going to go the way of, I think, the Bont or Friedman. For me, those two are looking very quick. They've obviously put a lot of time and effort into this. So keep an eye on those two as they're very, very quick around this circuit. Usually the British drivers tend to go relatively well around here as well, just because of just pure knowledge of the circuit. So we've got a few guys in the chat. Berserker in the chat. Yo, have a good stream, everybody. Tips in the chat. Good luck to all the drivers. Excuse me. I am feeling a little bit under the weather, guys, so please excuse my coughing and snivelling as best you can. Tips in the chat saying good luck all drivers. Club or evening, folks. And Chase in the chat. Let's go Gray. Obviously supporting Langley, your Pro-Am Championship leader at the minute. As they come down the main straight, Duffin having a moment through Bumhole and has lost out to Yo. So Yo is going to be the first one to set the pace here tonight. And we'll see what lap time he can produce around this fantastic circuit. As they're actually going around, we will find a car that's further back. We will go on board with 501. I think that is Ramsell, who's in the final sector. Yes, he is. So we'll go on board with Rob Ramsell for a lap around this fantastic circuit of Snetterton, the 300 version, which is the full GP. We head up towards turn number 1, and in the GT3 you brake just before the arrow board, and does so for Robbie. Turn in, down 1 gear, and it's kind of like a weird double apex. Make sure you don't run too wide, because if you do, the grass will suck you out and you get stuck there. Brake between the 2 and the 1 meter board and drop it down to first gear. Tight hairpin, make sure you get a good exit out of the hairpin, and then get yourself over to the right hand side, ready for an awkward turn 3. The corner kind of turns strange. It's kind of like an off-camber kind of situation as the car starts to rise and just lose traction. Very easy to get a non-lap time through there. Heading out into turn 4, breaking out the 1 board and try and get the front end turned in. Ramsell's gone too deep, and that lap is going to be a non-invalid one, but he will obviously try and continue on. We'll go on board of Aberdeen as we continue on into turn 5. Brake just on the Marshall board on the right hand side, get the front turned in as you then turn to 6. Again, brake in the boards area. Try not to take too much inside curb because that will invalidate your lap time. Through 6 and 7 up into 8. And try not to take too much curb. The car will become unsettled through 8. Now down the Bentley straight, a long straight here. Car going to be hitting top miles an hour. Not quite hitting the rev limiter. They then brake underneath the board, try and get the front end turned in, but not too much, and they don't want to hit that giant sausage curve as Aberdeen goes wide and makes that mistake. We'll go back on board with Ramsel as he goes through Bommel on the exit of there. Heads now down towards the right-hander and tucks it in nice and tight to the right-hand side of the circuit, then turns in left. Again, another giant sausage curve. You don't want to hit too hard out the final corner, and a great run towards the line, and that is a lap around the Snetterton circuit. Duffy, meanwhile, has set the fastest lap of the session so far, with John Goudet sat in P2, Yo P3, Matt Wright P4, Flop P5, Cox sat in P6 with Varga P7, Bell P8, and Smith in P9. They are your only valid lap times at the minute as De Bont now crosses the line and goes fastest overall with a 1:56.3. As they go into the final few minutes of this session, we're into the last half. We'll see what drivers can do what lap times. Car coming to the line, I'm not sure who that is. I think it's the 741 Stardog. Yes, it was, but no lap time on the board for him. Gray Langley is in the final sector. I still wait to see a lap time from Friedman. There we go. Will Friedman setting the pace to the top. He goes. Setting the fastest qualified session so far as Duffin improves to go to P1. A few other guys looking to improve. Here comes Goudet. He finds a couple of tenths but doesn't improve on his position. Where's O'Reilly? I'm not actually sure where O'Reilly is. He has declined for this evening, but I'm not exactly sure what is going on with him. Langley goes into P6. And we see De Bont now coming into the final sector. Is he going to be on an improvement? That is the question. I believe that was Ramsel cross the line. He goes into 7th. De Bont now 4/10 of a second off the back of Duffin. Can he find any more lap time? No, he cannot, so he stays where he is. Meanwhile, Friedman is in the final sector. Who we got coming into the final corners now? Tipping crossing the line. He goes 14th for that one. Storic, no lap time. We've got Horath now into the final corner. I believe Cherrymore just set a lap time. Yes, he did. It put him 12th. So Horath, what's he going to do? Is this going to be a lap time for him on the boards? Yes, it is. So 17th place for him. Not really where he wanted to be. Stardog, meanwhile, comes into the final corner. And what can he do from here? Stardog now coming to the line in 20th position. No lap time on the board, so really struggling to put a lap time on the board. Will Friedman, meanwhile, sat P2 at the minute. Comes to the line. What can he produce? He goes fastest with a 1:55.8, so he improves on that lap time. Meanwhile, Duffin is on circuit as well. What is he going to produce? Doesn't quite improve, a couple of hundredths, but not a lot. Yo, meanwhile, still 5th at the minute. And Flop, meanwhile, goes up into 7th place position. Now we've got Smith now coming to the line. Any improvement? No improvement for him. Well, Goudet, still no improvement for him either. Now we've got Varga, 1.5 off the pace. And no improvement from him. Langley does improve to go P4 with that one. And just in the background is, I believe, Bell. Yes, it is. No improvement for him. And then we've got Ramsell coming to the line. He improves to go to P7, so good lap time from him. And we wait for tipping. Aberdeen goes up into P11 as tipping now comes out of the final few corners. And let's see what lap time he can produce here. Coming to the line, is tipping going to improve? He does, but does not change position as Storrock there goes to 16th. Meanwhile, I missed it. De Bont went fastest of them all, straight to the top. As Friedman and all are still on improvements. As Horath now comes to the line, any improvement? No improvement for him. But so far, so good if you are De Bont. Here comes Will Friedman now in the final corner. Meanwhile, Stardog still trying to put a lap time together. And is he going to get one on the board? No, he's not, but he will get another go. So this is his last attempt not to start at the back. Meanwhile, Friedman gets within 15 thousandths of De Bont and can't find any more time. Duffin, meanwhile, he's not going to make the line, and I think he's invalidated as well. Duffin to the line, no improvement. Yo cross the line, no improvement from him either. That was Flop to the line. He goes to P6. And we've got Smith now coming to the line. Where is Smith? Smith, there he is, 14th. No improvement. John, meanwhile, doesn't improve and stays where he is as well. Benny Varga stays 9th. As we come to the end of qualifying, and the last few laps now coming together. Bell didn't improve. Stardog did not even get a lap time on the board. Cherrymore doesn't put a lap time on the board. I believe that is pretty much everyone done. Who are we waiting on? The 67. That is Tipping, who is currently 15th. And to the line he comes. He goes 14th for that one. So, De Bont takes pole position for the first race this evening. As we will now look towards the first race of the evening. De Bont and Friedman on the front row. But it's a bit strange for them this evening, not seeing O'Reilly with them this evening. But we'll see who will be able to come out on top of those guys. It should be a fascinating fight nonetheless. Guys, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit that bell to be notified so you don't miss anything here at SimPlay Motorsport. And let's get a poll going for who you think is going to win race 1. Excuse me. So let's start a poll. Race 1 winner. And like I said, guys, if you haven't done so already, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit that bell to be notified. As I will get the poll going for you at the moment. As we now wait for the guys to pull away. And there you go, there is a poll for you guys, so you can get your votes in on who you think is going to win this first race. And the drivers now pull away as we will run through the grid order. So, it is De Bont who starts on pole position. ahead of Will Friedman in second. There's going to be Duffin in third. Langley will start in fourth, with Goudet in fifth. Flop in sixth. Seventh is Yo, and eighth is Ramsell. Ninth is Varga, while 10th is Wright. Aberdeen will start in 11th with Cox in 12th. Cherrymore in 13th. Tipping in 14th position with Smith in 15th. Stork in 16th. Bell in 17th. Hovrath in 18th. Marsden 19th. And Stardog back of the pack in 20th, with Archer in 21st place position. So that is a rundown of your grid. And also, while we wait for the guys to go around, have a look at our fantastic Patreons, the people who support us on the channel. And if it wasn't for them, we would not be able to give you all the great shows that we put on for you guys here. And also, massive thank you to our sponsors as well, Design Manchester and Audio Sports. So please give them a like and subscribe and follow on all of their networks. And yeah, it really does help them out as well, and the support they give us on the channel supports us also. Swift in the chat, nice to see you in the chat, buddy. Evening all. As we're about to go racing here. And I do not know why my screen will not update correctly. I am just making sure my settings are correct. I've just had a few changes since the night races. So we are going to try and get the images nice and clear once again. So we can see all those beautiful race cars around Snetterton. As we're about to go racing once again here. Not long left of the season. As we now get ourselves ready to go racing here. They're into the final sector. We'll go on board with the helicam. It is De Bont versus Friedman. I was going to say Friedman then, but there's no O'Reilly tonight. No O'Reilly, so it's all fair game to any one of these guys. Who's going to win the first race? Get your votes in the chat. And let's go racing here at Snetterton for the first race in a long week's worth of racing. We now wait for starters' orders here at Snetterton. And we are green and go here at Snetterton. A fairly even start between the two Genettas on the front row, De Bont and Friedman. Up towards turn number one we go, and Friedman braves out on the outside. He's going to be into the marbles ever so slightly, but outside line does get the job, the cleaner line, and he then leads into turn number two. De Bont now going to go around the outside. Langley just outbrakes himself ever so slightly and goes wide, and that allows Duffin to come up the inside. Meanwhile, the rest of the pack are all scrounging and fighting their way through positions, but they have managed to get themselves into a decent rhythm here. But it is Friedman who gets the jump and the start and leads the way after the first couple of corners here as they head up towards the hairpin. Duffin, meanwhile, very late on the brakes, sends it up the inside, and that is a position made for him and gets one done on De Bont, and is now he's stuck behind him. Can he do anything about Friedman? De Bont, meanwhile, looking to try and capitalise. Goudet just behind with Langley in that fifth place position. Flop in sixth with Yo in seventh. Eighth is Ramsell, ninth. Obviously, Varga has made another position there as the car's gone off slightly into the dirt as they all there wake their way through the first couple of corners here. Everyone's still together on the first couple of sectors here. Really close to one of those. Matt Wright looks up the inside of Aberdeen as Aberdeen hits the tyres out of the way and continues to push his way forward as a car's been off by the looks of things. As De Bont now starting to get Duffin a bit of a headache. As they exit the final corner Everyone relatively close to one another, but no clear opportunities for anyone to send it up the inside. And you can see now DeBont really pressurising the back of Duffin here as they go through turn number 1. Duffin on the defence here. He's got DeBont right behind him and really giving him a bit of a headache as Goudet goes a little bit deep through the final corner there. What has happened to Langley? After fighting out at the front, he's dropped down to 10th place, so now he's having a bit of a recovery drive here. And meanwhile, further back as well, we've got Tips here going. He's dropping down the order. He's lost out to Storrock and Bell by the looks of things. Yes, he has. And now he's under pressure from Marsden as well. So back end of the grid, all scrapping it out. But it is Friedman now starting to disappear up the road with quite a comfortable gap over Duffin. As they all work their way through the left-hander. And again, no real moves being made at this moment in time. As your leaders now work their way down Bentley Straight. Flop at the minute coming onto at the back of John Goudet. He's currently splitting the two team GBI as you see there. Varga goes very wide, as does Aberdeen, makes his own mistake, and Ramsell gains a position out of that. Cox and Langley now looking to capitalise as Varga had his own little moment. And we've got this four-way fight at the minute. A lot of cars dropping back. I think Aberdeen, yeah, he's dropped down right the order. Matt Wright just not with this quad of cars. And Ramsell now tries to pull away from Varga, who's under some pressure here from Cox. Cox in the slipstream. He pulls out a little bit too early, I think, and now Langley trying to use the toe himself to head down towards turn 1. And they get very, very close. Langley not able to capitalise on that one. As they all go through turn 1, Cox goes a little bit wide, but Langley may have his opportunity into turn number 2. And contact is made as Cox turns in when Langley was already up the inside, touches the inside curb and loses the back end. And just loses a little bit of momentum there. Meanwhile, DeBont still pressurising Duffin like mad. He's going to look to the inside of turn 4, but he's not quite close enough there, as Duffin still holds him off as best he can, but losing time, hand over fist to Friedman in front. Meanwhile, Cherrymore's had an adventure somewhere because he's dropped right down the order. And everyone else relatively clean and safe around this fantastic circuit. Meanwhile, Wright is now caught onto the back of Cox. He had his own little scrap with Langley, Varga and Ramsell. But Friedman with fastest lap of the race now starting to eke his gap away from Duffin. And he's got his own troubles as well, as he's got DeBont hunting him down as he head now towards, I believe this is Brundle and Nelson. Into the fast left-hander. DeBont gets really close to the back of Duffin, but there are no opportunities to make a move. Everyone else relatively spread out at the minute, unlike Bell, who's under pressure from Storrock and tipping. Excuse me. As they go through into the bomb hold section. Still relatively close. Stardog right on the back bumper of Hovrath. See there, Hovrath just struggling to pull away from these gaggle of cars behind him. And once again, DeBont really giving something for Duffin to think about. And is right on his back bumper. See there, Goudet just keeping them at arm's length as Flop is having to defend a little bit from Yo here. Cox meanwhile was also under pressure from Matt Wright. Langley goes a little bit wide through turn 3, manages to get away with it as Cox is having his own little slide. Further back we've got Stardog and Marsden having a fight with Smith. Smith's on the back of those guys, but all relatively good and clean so far here at Snetterton. I've probably cursed it now, but we'll see. Flop under pressure from Yo. go through the tight, twisty right-hander. I'm going to try and find the track map so I can remember the names. Excuse me. And I was right, this is Brundle and Nelson they're coming up to. And Yo, just on the back of Flop here, gets a little bit closer, but not quite close enough. Runs a little bit wide onto the dirt. Ramsel has a big slide himself, and once again, that group of 4 and 5, Constantine are up. De Bont once again on the back bumper as they go through Coram, heading down into Murray's. He gets really close to the back of Duffin, pretty much pushing him now as he go onto the helicam. Oh, wrong button. Didn't want to do that. But we go onto the rear wing of Duffin, and you can see here, De Bont has got no straight line speed by the looks of things compared to Duffin. But has he got a better run through turn 1? That is the question. No, not quite. So he's going to have to sit in the toe once again. We go to Flop and Yo. And again, Langley's putting the pressure on Varga. Is he going to try and send it up into the hairpin? He gets close, but thinks better of it. And Cox is just onto the back of this group as well. Meanwhile, the rest of the pack are all evenly spread out. Smith's had a moment somewhere and dropped down the order as he then heads up towards turn 1 of Riches. Duffin still, meanwhile, under some immense threat from De Bont. Flop also under pressure as they head through Agostini. Try and get a good run out of Agostini to make sure that Yo can't attack. Really, this tight, twisty section at the minute isn't really overtakeable at the minute, as Ramsel is still doing a titanic job of keeping 4 cars behind him, and a great little train going on here. Duffin's going to run wide. That's going to hurt his run out of Williams, and he is under threat from De Bont now as they head down the Bentley Strad, heading down to Brundle. And Duffin trying to defend. De Bont can't find a way through at the minute. Hasn't got enough run up. Also, Yo looking to make a move on Flop. You can see Vargas also on the back of Ramsel, Langley, and Cox and Wright, all close to one another. Bell looking like he's trying to break the toe of Storrock there. But once again, we go back to your leaders. Will Friedman, meanwhile, long gone into the distance, 3.8 ahead of Duffin, and fastest lap to his name. He is absolutely flying right now. We go back to this 5-way fight. And Langley with a bad exit out the final corner. He's actually going to put himself under a little bit of pressure. Meanwhile, Yo is on the attack of Flop, heading down towards Riches. He's going to go up the inside of Flop, losing out there as we get to the halfway stage of this race. But Flop comes back underneath as Yo has no answer to him there, and losing out to Flop onto the inside, and Flop gets the job done. A nice move from him there, and back to where he was. Ramsel, meanwhile, still got Varga, Langley, Cox, and Wright all for company. And once again, Duffin has got De Bont right up his backside. Yo, meanwhile, still can't find a move on Flop. We go back to Tips, who's pulled away from Hobrath, who's still got the 2 Blunt Force Racing cars of Marston and Stardog behind him. Bell also got Storrock behind him. There's a yellow flag up ahead. I'm not sure who or what. It is Langley and Varga. They've come together by the looks of things. Possibly Langley's braked a little bit too late and hit the back of Varga, and that is obviously going to capitalise Cox and Wright. Yes, it has. They've moved through, and Ramsel pulls away even further away from them. Down the Bentley straight once again, and we can see here that De Bont is getting close to Duffin. Not close enough though, struggling just to stick with the Ginetta. And Yo once again on the back of Flop, but no opportunities are available for him. And Langley and Varga dropping down the order into the pack they go, and right now giving Cox a bit of a headache as they go through the long right-hander. Gone through Coram, out of Murray's, and down the main street heading up to Riches. But Cox has got that covered. De Bont once again giving Duffin a bit of a headache. Yo, meanwhile, 2 tenths. He's going to think about sending up the inside of the hairpin. Can't get the job done. Meanwhile, Cox has had a bad exit out of turn 1. That's given Matt Wright a sniff opportunity up the inside. Job done. And that is how you do it here at Snetterton. And a brilliant move done there by Matt Wright. He then covers off Cox, ready for turn 3 of Palmer. And job done. He done it all at Montreal. Yo still trying to force Flop into a mistake, but he can't get him to drop a position here. Flop doing a brilliant job of defending off Yo at the minute. De Bont, meanwhile, looked for a moment there on Duffin, but did not get the opportunity. Still, your Blunt Force Racing a duo. Bell's dropped down the order. He's dropped to 17th after having a fight with Storrock. So I don't know if there was possible contact involved with that. But Varga and Langley, as Varga was ahead of Langley, he's now dropped up behind him. Ramsel, a bit of a slide through the right-hander of Williams. Once again, Yo in the background having to look for a way around the outside of Flop. This is going to be a brave move if he gets it done. Swoops around Brundle into the inside, and Nelson, if he's got the job done. Flop gives him the racing room, and still Yo not quite got the confidence as Ramsel now starts to eke onto the back of these two, allowing John just to pull away, so he's not got no worries or issues at the minute. But 6 seconds now, the gap between Friedman and Duffin as they start another lap here. Lap number 7 they start. And De Bont once again right on the back of Duffin. Duffin goes a little bit wide. This is going to offer De Bont an opportunity. He's going to look to the inside of the hairpin. And he goes to the inside, gets the job done, gets the car stopped. Duffin tries to come back underneath. De Bont keeps it pinned, though. He should have the inside then for Palmer, but he doesn't. He has a bad exit, and Duffin stays ahead. And once again, Flop further back is holding up Yo to the point that Ramsel's now joined the party. Tipping also under pressure from Marsden as everyone else starts to find their groove a little bit here at the circuit. Cox also lost... trying to stick with Matt Wright as best he can. And again, this starts to concertina up to a 5-way fight. And this time it's Flop holding the pack up. And you can see Yo just pushing the limits, trying to get the best out of his car. But he cannot get any advantage over Flop at the minute. Once again, Marston and Stardog working together on the back of Tipping, but cannot do anything about him at this moment in time. Once again, Duffin and De Bont, we go for another round. Round number 7, heading down towards Brundle and Nelson. But once again, there's no change. De Bont can't find the opportunity. And the thing is, the more and more Duffin is sat there, the more and more that Duffin's learning about De Bont's attacks and where he's vulnerable and where he is stronger. So he knows exactly now where he's going to look to the attack. Meanwhile, Marston under pressure from his own teammate of Stardog, but they get close, but no avail so far. De Bont once again, a solid exit out at the final corner, heading up towards Riches and then heading to Montreal. That is the prime opportunity to overtake if you can get it stopped. And De Bont sends it through Riches. Needs to make sure he has a great run through here. A lot tighter on the inside. You can see he's much better on turning than Duffin. But Duffin just tries to be later on the brakes. He looks like he's gone a little bit deep. Yes, he has. That's opened the door for De Bont to come up the inside. But luckily for him, a tighter line has allowed De Bont just to lose a little bit of traction and not gain the advantage. Flop, meanwhile, has been done by Yo. An undercut, a swoop underneath. But Flop is still on the inside of Yo. They're going to try and go around the outside now of Palmer, and Yo gets the job done. A nicely done move there for Yo. De Bont, meanwhile, still right up the back of Duffin. Cannot find a way through at this stage. And hits the curb quite hard. They're heading now into Oggies. And Duffin putting on a titanic defense here. And again, heading down towards Brundle. There was a bit of dirt kicked up in the background. That is Storrock. He's made a mistake and dropped behind. Now Marsden is Stardog going to try and have a look up the inside of Oggies as well. No, he's on the outside, so he's not going to get a job unless he gets a swoop underneath. But no, Storrock with the slide on the back end allows the car to kind of rotate around and keep him ahead. And again, DeBont sitting on the back of Duffin. Meanwhile, Matt Wright with an issue there. He was a bit slow on the exit of Nelson. And Cox just straight drove past him. Meanwhile, this is the closest DeBont has been to Duffin. And pretty much pushing him down the straight there. As you can see, the lag kind of going backwards and forwards. They head now towards Riches, now to Montreal. Duffin goes a little bit wide. This is going to give DeBont the run down towards Montreal. He goes left, he goes right. He can't find a way through. Duffin really just parking it on the apex at the minute. And DeBont really can't find a way through at the minute. There's just no opportunity for him. Meanwhile, Ramsell catching onto the back of Flop momentarily as Yo pulls away from that fight. Tipping, meanwhile, has got Marsden for company. And Hovrath has got Bell as well. Bell dropping down the order a little bit more. That's Smith, meanwhile, in the background, losing the back end and dropping further back down the order. As we are coming towards the end of this first race, and Will Friedman out in front, not bothered whatsoever, comfortable as you like, probably fastest lap of the race, and swoop ran turn one around the outside, got the job done pretty much straight away for him. As you know, head down the back straight. Duffin goes through the left-hander of Brundle into Nelson. And DeBont trying every trick in the book, but can't seem to find the magic move that he needs. Vargo, meanwhile, is losing pace to Langley at the minute. It's all fairly spread out at the minute. Matt Wright's coming back at Cox as well. As Duffin doing everything he possibly can just to keep DeBont behind him as your race leader starts the final lap. Will Friedman out in front. Duffin now ahead of DeBont. Goudet crossing the line. He's quite comfortable ahead of Yo, ahead of Flop, and then ahead of Ramsell. Cox there in P8, Wright in P9, Aberdeen in P10, Langley P11, Vargo P12, and Tipping defending from Marsden. As Matt's trying to flash his lights to Cherry Moore, just to kind of give him a heads up and a warning that the leaders are coming through. I'm sure Cherry Moore could see them coming. Possibly the back straight is where he will probably allow them through. That's probably the easiest place to do it. Oh, and Cherry Moore goes off. DeBont has his own little moment through there as well. But either way, he's out of the way of the leaders, and he's going to stay out of the way for John as well. But Duffin here still trying to hold off DeBont as best he possibly can. The other scraps going on. Ramsell losing out to Flop there. Not got the momentum. And everyone else just kind of stationary again. Matt Wright was catching on Cox, but he's dropped behind him now. But this man took it from turn one all the way to the line. Absolutely phenomenal from Will Friedman. He comes into the final corner now. Fastest lap and race win to his name. Will Friedman wins here at Snetterton as he takes it to the line. Congratulations to him. A great win for him. Duffin in the end is going to finish in second place, with DeBont finishing in third. So good points for those guys. John Goudet, a solid P4 for him, with Darren Yo in P5. Flop, a very, very good P6 for him, with Ramsell P7 right to him at the end. Cox in P8, right in P9. Aberdeen will cross the line in P10, with Langley finishing in 11th, ahead of Varga in 12th. Then it's going to be tipping for 13th. He just about holds off Marsden to the line for 14th. Storrock 15th. Stardog 16th. Hovrath is going to finish in 17th place position. Then it's going to be Bell for 18th. Archer 19th. Smith in 20th. And Cherry Moore in 21st position. That was your first race, and Will Friedman looking so comfortable in that one. We'll be back in a few moments time, as we will then get the next qualifying session underway and race 2 underway as well. We'll be back in a few moments time. Welcome back. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to SimPlay Motorsport, as we are now underway for our second qualifying session, ready for our second race. And obviously we had to do a quick reset of the server. I noticed halfway through the race that we had no ballast. So yeah, yo, I was not confident starting practice being 1.5 down on the leader. Nice race, man, says Berserker to Will Friedman. And a brilliant job nonetheless from him. So now we get ourselves ready to go all over again here at Snetterton for race 2. And obviously a very shortened qualifying session once again. This time, instead of 10 minutes, they only have 7. Now 7 isn't a lot of time, considering this circuit is for these guys, it's near enough 2 minutes to get around. So they have to do the outlap. Once they've done the outlap, they will then obviously only have, I think, maybe 2, maybe 3 laps max to get a lap time on the board. The previous season, for GT4s, we did do 5 minutes, and that was extremely tight. So yeah, it was definitely interesting nonetheless. Make sure my settings are correct on the stream. Just seemed a little bit out but we are underway for the next qualifying session, and it is Duffin who is going to lead the way. And I'm gonna have a look at the championship standings as they are, and I'm just double checking that they are in order. They look like they are. So championship standings looks like this. It's still O'Reilly leading the way with 375 points to Duffin in second. Will Friedman stats P3, so it's still only those 3 drivers who are still mathematically in the championship hunt. Darren Yeo sits P5 with Goudet in Darren Yeo sits P4 with Goudet in P5. I think that is only a couple of points separating those two, with McGowan in P6, Matt Wright in P7 with Ramsell P8, Skunky in P9. Well, Langley is in P10, Aberdeen P11 with Leach P12, Millington in 13th with Varga 14th, Flop in 15th, Tipping 16th, Cherrymore 17th and Archer in 18th. De Bont now in 19th with Cranes in 20th, Marsden 21st with Bolton in 22nd, Smith 23rd with Bell 24th, Taylor 25th, Hoffner in 26th, Hovrath in 27th, Stardog 28th. Historic in 29th, Johnson in 30th, Cox 31st, Cummings 32nd, Williams in 33rd, and Best in 34th, with Raiden rounding out the order. Regarding the teams, it is Dapper Racing still leading the way, but 85 points now separating Team GBR and them, with SimPlay Racing in P3, Greasy Bandits in P4, with Team RRM in P5, Quantum Motorsport P6, Team Piston Pounders in P7, Ballbusters Racing in P8, with CGT Team Motorsport in 9, Roadrunners in P10, Alexi's Industry in 11th, GD Racing in 12, Team Autosport 13th, Blunt Force Racing 14th, Soldor 15th, 2Cs Racing 16th, OWR Racing 17th, 18th is Team FBR, and 19th is Team Apex. Duffin sets the pace with Flop now 8 tenths behind him, with Langley 7.2, so he's actually a bit off the pace there, as we now look to Bell, who exits the final corner of Murray's and heads to the line. What lap time is this going to be? No lap time on the board for him. Meanwhile, Varga gets within 8 tenths of Duffin. Storrock goes into P4. And Ramsell now within a tenth of Duffin. Aberdeen goes into P4. And we're waiting for De Bont to go top as Matt Wright goes into P4. De Bont actually doesn't go fastest of them all, as Yo now goes to the top of the session. And Goudet goes into P4. Hovrath now coming to the line. And what lap time is he going to produce? He goes himself into P10. Langley looks like he's coming out the final corner out. Will Friedman goes fastest of them all with a 56.6. Obviously, the weight is now put on board. Oh, God. I missed the chat from Berserker earlier on. Very professional work here from the commentary men. Love your channel, guys. Races are always entertaining. Thank you for the kind words there, Berserker, and I'm glad you are enjoying the show, as is everyone else. So please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit that bell to be notified so you don't miss anything here at SimPlay Motorsport. So it's Friedman fastest from Yo, from Duffin, from Ramsel, from Goudet, from Varga, Wright, Aberdeen, Flop, and Storrock is your top 10 at the minute. And Duffin exits the final corner now to come to the line. He's currently 3/10 off the pace of Friedman. Has he improved? No, he has not, so he stays where he is. Flop, meanwhile, comes to the line. And again, no improvement from him either, but he gets another lap time on the board. Smith, meanwhile, does he put a lap time on the board? No, he does not. I've still got a couple of cars yet to come to the line. Ramsel now coming out the final corner. By the looks of things, a few other cars coming to the line. That was Varga, I believe it was, but I don't know where he ended up. Ramsel, meanwhile, comes to the line. And he now goes P3 with that lap time. Aberdeen, meanwhile, staying P6. De Bont goes fastest with a 55.7. Matt Wright now goes into P3. With Yo now coming to the line, 1.1 off the pace. What's it going to be from him? No improvement. Goudet now currently down in 9th. What's this going to be for him? No improvement either. Cherrymore to the line. No lap time for him either. So Hovdath now is the last one to cross the line. He goes 12th, with Will Freeman in the end only going second fastest with that one once again. As I believe that is tipping to the line. Yes, it is. He goes 13th. Just behind him is Archer by the looks of things. It is. He crosses the line to go 15th. And Langley now goes to P3 with that lap time over second off the pace. So good lap time from himself there. As we're now coming to the end, Duffin pushing as hard as he can right to the very end. And what can he produce from his little Ginetta? Out the final corner of Murray's to the line he goes. He stays P7. Will Freeman doesn't improve. Langley obviously won't improve either. He's in the pit lane. A couple cars yet to come. Flop in the end goes P7. So demotes Duffin down again. We've got the 64. That is Bell. No lap time on the board for him currently. He's 19th at the minute. One lap time on the board to get him ahead of a few cars. And he does manage to do so. Ramsel now to the line. 6th at the minute. And he improves to go P3. A great lap time from him. De Bont does not improve on his lap time, but he is fastest of the session. Matt Wright fails to improve. Can Yo find any more time? He does, but doesn't improve on his position. And Goudet now, he just needs to find a couple of tenths to get up with the guys. He finds a few tenths, but doesn't improve on position, so stays P10. So De Bont once again nabbing pole position there. And a great pole position at that. Obviously, with all the weights on board now, it kind of shows the true pace of everyone. As for some reason my computer started to be a little bit of a bum, which is fantastic. Randomly opened Photoshop while I was in the middle of reading something, so brilliant. Right, we should be able to get things underway very, very shortly. Guys, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit that bell to be notified so you don't miss anything here. That's close, Berserker. Let's go Friedman, only from the 3rd down to 12th. Nice. It is very, very close, and obviously the one thing I forgot to mention as well, if you look to the left-hand side, you see different coloured boxes for the drivers' names. And as you can see, white, silver, and red. The white means gold drivers, so the top of the league regarding of our our SimBot data. Thank you. I was struggling with that. Silver obviously is the silver drivers, so the kind of mid-range drivers, and then obviously the red ones are your bronze drivers. So that is how we rank them, and obviously you can see it's fairly spread out. Yo and Duffin obviously carrying the weight, got a little bit hampered due to some of the silver drivers finding that pace as well, and it also works the same for the GT3 class as well. Excuse me. Obviously Pro get the white numbers for the platinum drivers. Silver once again goes to the gold drivers in the Pro category. Pro-Am, the silver drivers get the silver, and obviously the Am drivers get the red ones. Yeah, sorry, only ones. Not sure what you mean there, Berserker, but either way, we get things underway in another run through of the grid order. It is the Bont who's going to start on pole position once again, with Friedman in that second place. Obviously weight is now put on the cars, so you can now start to feel the effect for some of these guys. And one of them is Friedman. Ramsell will start P3 with Langley in P4. Matt Wright in P5 with Yo in P6. Flop will start in P7 with Duffin in P8. P9 will go the way of Cox with Goudet in P10. Aberdeen will start in 11th with Varga in P12. Bell in 13th with Hofrath in 14th. Tipping in 15th with Sturrock in 16th. Smith in 17th. Archer 18th. 19th is Cherrymore. Marsden in 20th. And Stardog in 21st. Obviously your leading gold driver is the Bont. Ramsell is your leading silver, and your leading bronze is Tipping. And we will see how this all pans out. I'll be back in a few moments' time. I've just got to blow my knees. 1 second from 3rd to 12th. I'm with you now, Berserker. I'm with you. I'll be right back, as I need to blow my nose as this cold is really starting to do my head in. I'll be back in 2 seconds. I am back. We never had Murray Walker disappearing to blow his nose. What's the matter with you? I'm not Murray Walker. I don't get paid to do this. So, Hibbs, you can kind of do one. I'm not feeling well, and I'm the only commentator to do Genettas and Pro-Am. So if you want me to commentate for you, for these races, then you're going to have to kind of deal with it. But they exit now the final quarter. We wait for the starters' orders for this one. I didn't even do the prediction for race 3. Sorry, race 2. Oh, God. But anyway, we wait for starters' orders. And we are underway here, and the Bont once again tries to get the better start, and this time Friedman, this time round, is not going to get the jump around the outside. Ramsell keeps it strong on the inside as Langley once again goes around the outside of Ramsell this time and gets the job done, and is going to stay ahead. Is he making the braking zone, though? That is the question, as everyone else works their way towards Montreal. I can't speak now. Hibbs got me thrown off a little bit as they all go through now into Palmer, and Cox just ahead of Goudet, and looks like Flop, I think, is ahead of him as well. Flop going very defensive, as you can see there. Goudet going to the outside, a little bit late break in there, and that I think was Bell going into the side of someone. Bell staying exactly where he needs to, and a great job from him. De Bont, meanwhile, leads the way in first, ahead of Friedman, ahead of Langley, who's got Ramsell right behind him, and they're all queuing up behind them as they go through the first couple of corners here. As I try and do the prediction as quick as I can while these guys are racing, so it's very difficult to do it as they head now down the back straight. Looks like Duffin is looking to make a move on Yo down towards Murray's. He's not going to get the job done there though, and has to go around the outside of the corner. Oh, and you see there Cox all over the grass. He's gone off at Nelson, and a very tricky to get right. I think a couple more cars off. I think that's Hovrath gone round in the background. Yes, it is. Anyone else I think involved? Yeah, Tippings is involved as well, so he drops down the order, and Langley now starts to pull away from Ramsell, and Ramsell got his own fight with right behind him as Friedman tries to go with De Bont as close as he possibly can, but he's got that weight on board now, which is going to hurt him ever so slightly. Cox dropping down the order. Flop meanwhile has got Goudet and Varga for company right behind him, and here we go. Goudet looking to the inside. Is he going to get the job done on Flop? Yes, he is. Now Varga is also going to try and swoop up the inside. He's there on the inside of... No, he's not quite there. Flop looks to defend the inside, and Varga has to go to the outside. And he late breaks Flop and gets the job done, but Flop makes contact with him. And as the rest of the pack come through, Flop losing out, as does Varga. And more cars getting involved as Cherrymore comes together with Smith, Marston and Stardog as well in the background, so they're all quite close to one another. But your leading group pulling away now as Duffin was attacking Yo. He's now under pressure from Goudet by the looks of things. And meanwhile, Friedman has brought the gap down to De Bont, so he has got the pace there, and Langley quite light, just like De Bont as well. So if De Bont really wants Friedman to focus on something else, he might have to keep an eye on Langley behind him. There's the pole. I finally got it up. But De Bont leads this race after the first lap and still got Friedman for company, even with the weight on board. Langley going through as Ramsell defending from right with Yo behind him, and Duffin ahead of Goudet. There's your top 8. Aberdeen in that P9, and Storrock, your leading bronze driver, in P10, just staying ahead of Cox there. Then you've got Archer ahead of Varga, ahead of Flop, Marston, Smith, Cherrymore, Stardog, Hovrath, Tipping and Bell in your order. It was a nice start. Berserker been a little bit of tripping up a little bit later on, but De Bont now trying to use that less weight to try and pull away as much as he possibly can, as Matt right now under pressure from Yo. There's a head down towards Riches. At the minute, Yo is close, but not close enough really to mount an attack at this stage, as it is all calm so far. Aberdeen meanwhile pulling away from the pack behind. Leading driver for silver meanwhile is Langley, leading gold is De Bont, and leading bronze is Storrock, as Archer is trying to catch him as best he can, but he's got Varga behind him with Flop as well. Two very, very fast drivers wanting to clear their way through the pack. But Freeman meanwhile still keeping De Bont honest at this stage of the race, as is Ramsell ahead of Matt Wright, ahead of Yo, ahead of Duffin, ahead of Goudet. Then we've got this pack of cars led by Cox, but I think he's pulling away. If anything, it's Archer holding these guys up, our local Australian. Long way to travel for Archer here to come to Snetterton. Used to really hilly circuits that got really close walls, but here at Snet it's incredibly flat. And Varga goes up the inside, but actually Archer gets a better exit, and Varga there is going to have to try and get back into the tow. As he does so, and with him goes Flop, so Flop's trying to go with Varga, so Varga making all the way up, and Flop's going to look to the inside as well. Varga later on the brakes gets the job done through Brundle and ahead in Nelson. Flop could not go with him. Meanwhile, Cherrymore goes off on Nelson and goes out very, very wide. goes to see the spectators out in the far end of the circuit. But De Bont and Friedman once again going at it as they've been doing for pretty much this last half of the season. Obviously no O'Reilly this time to join him, but Langley just in the foreground, just able to keep an eye on him. If anything happens towards him, he'll be able to capitalise. Ramsel with a solid P4 ahead of Wright, ahead of Yo, and now Agude pressurising Duffin as they head up towards Montreal, and the scary tree just ahead, which is no longer there at Snetterton. It has gone as Agude gets close to Duffin. Meanwhile, further back, not a lot else is happening other than Marsden's now attacking Flop. We've got a Blunt Force versus Lexi's Industry Racing going at it at the minute. Hovrath there a little bit on the curb, losing the back end as Bell has got ahead of Tipping now as Cherrymore drops to the back of the pack. It looks like De Bont seems to be in a little bit of a groove now, pulling 8/10 ahead of Friedman. It goes a little bit wide though. Friedman gets a little bit closer. Top 8 at the minute. Obviously your top 2 seem to have scampered off a little bit, but your 3rd down to 8th at the minute, all still relatively close to one another, so anything can still happen at this stage. Friedman though looks like he had a great run down Bentley Straight and is on the back of De Bont, so either De Bont's carrying a lot of wing and the rest of the pack aren't, so De Bont looking like he's very good in the corners but a little bit slow on the straights. We've got right here holding up Yo, who's got Duffin behind him as well. Cox meanwhile has hunted down Aberdeen over time, so Cox now going to give Aberdeen a bit of a hard time through Bombhole, but he can't get close enough as they then head down towards Coram and then Murray's. Yo meanwhile quite close to the back of Wright this time around. Matt Wright probably having to start looking in his rear view as Darren Yo is right behind him. Tries to be later on the race. Yo goes a little bit wide through turn 1. That's going to compromise his run. Does not gain a lot on the Quantum driver. Once he gets very close to the back of him as well. And the problem is as well, SimPlay and Team and GBR are in a titanic fight for the championship in regarding the constructors, as Dapper not here to represent with no O'Reilly and no Cranes either. So these guys are in a titanic fight. Duffin late braking, nearly goes up the inside of Yo. That would have been very optimistic. He wasn't quite close enough, and Yo managing to avoid that situation. And once again Friedman just there or thereabouts if De Bont makes a mistake. Langley as well, not a million miles away. Ramsel pulling away from this gaggle of cars. We look further back as Varga has cleared Storrock. And here we go. Archer looking to make a move, or he's lost the position, sorry, to Marsden as he now goes through. And Smith is just behind him as well with Stardog and Hovrath just in this gaggle of cars. Oh, Smith there missing his brakes, and that's going to allow Stardog, I think, for a sniffing opportunity. Not close enough as Marsden turns in and holds off Archer through the right-hander of Williams. Oh, and De Bont ends up on the grass. Friedman is looking like he is wanting that win again. He wants to make it a double win, and he gets really close to the back of De Bont, but not able to capitalise through there. Meanwhile, Duffin has got ahead of Yo. So SimPlay Racing now outscoring Team GBR. But Yo will definitely want that position back and will be putting pressure on Duffin once again. We are halfway through this race. And Friedman now with the weight on board, still fastest lap of the race, and he is right on the back bumper of De Bont. De Bont having to go defensive and defend the inside towards Agostini. Friedman now to the outside of the circuit. Not going to get the run through there. Is he going to wait for the Bentley straight? It's probably your best bet to then send it down into Brundle and then Nelson. Ramsel himself is under pressure now from Matt Wright. Matt Wright's got closer. Duffin's there as well. Further back, you've got Flop catching Storrock. He's now trying to give him a bit of a headache. Stardog attacking Archer also. Cox is still giving Aberdeen a hard time. But your top two at the minute, Friedman not as close as he probably would have liked to have been on the back of De Bont. And that is now him under pressure. Langley in a comfortable P3 at the minute. And Ramsell pulling away from Matt Wright. And we got Yo looking up the inside of Duffin. Contact is made there. They both go off. Contact, both Duffin and Yo have gone off. And Duffin drops behind Goudet. And Yo losing out big time there. The contact made from Duffin and Yo there. And that's let off the hook, Ramsell and Matt Wright. And Duffin now dropping behind Goudet. Your top two continuing on once again towards the front. Fighting it out for those positions. Well, that's a car off. That is Stardog. Possibly had a moment through Nelson, I think. And has lost out a little bit there to the rest of the pack. They're all down the main straight and he's further back. Looks like De Bont seems to have got himself back into a groove and pulling away once again from Friedman. So all in all, some great racing we're seeing here. A little bit of argy-bargy here and there from a few of the drivers, but nonetheless, it's been relatively clean. And going down the back straight once again for the 6th time. And now Duffin is on to the back of Goudet. Yo is made sure he's pulled away from Aberdeen ahead of Cox as well. Can Duffin find a way through on Goudet? That's the question. And I think you can definitely start to see the pain that Friedman is feeling right now with the weight. Earlier on, he was able to just drive away in that car. Obviously, a little bit of dirty air coming from the back of De Bont's car, and Friedman just not able to go with it. They are not joking, but Langley is his chances. But Langley still has a chance to win this race, but he's in the right position to do so. And Friedman, though, still close. These guys, though, for the last few rounds have been absolutely phenomenal to watch. Love the race, watching these guys. They've been wheel to wheel and very rarely made contact as well. So it's been some great, fair, respect racing between De Bont and Friedman. And also O'Reilly to add to that as well. Although O'Reilly's not here tonight, the three of them have been absolutely brilliant the last few rounds. And if you did miss those, feel free to go back and recap on the season as well, because it's been fabulous to watch those guys racing hard. Friedman once again gets close to De Bont. You can see De Bont losing the rear end a little bit. Possibly that's where he's struggling. Possibly the weight is actually helping keep Friedman planted to the circuit. And that's what's able to keep him stable and behind De Bont as close as he can. I might be chatting complete and utter rubbish, but De Bont goes a little bit wide there, kicks up the dirt. And Friedman's doing not as many mistakes as that. And that is going to hurt De Bont's exit out of Williams. Oh, I'm on the wrong driver. There we are. But again, the weight will hurt Friedman now. Obviously holding him back down the straight. He gets close. He gets really close. Friedman just seems to know. I've raced Friedman a few times. He just seems to know where people's bumpers are. He seems to be very good at judging the braking zone. And he's able to do that here with De Bont. He's really close going through Coram and then heading down to Murray's, but I don't really think it's going to be on here. He's probably have to save it for turn 1 at Riches. What else is going on? Goudet's pulled away from Duffin. Yo still comfortably ahead of Aberdeen and Cox. Then we got Varga ahead of Storrock. And everyone else relatively separated from one another. Archer going against Smith. Smith's close to the back of Archer. back end of Smith's car just steps out there and loses a little bit of momentum. And here we go, Cox now looking to the inside of Aberdeen, heading up towards Riches. Excuse me. And down the inside does Cox. He gets the job done. Through he goes. Friedman, meanwhile, has lost a little bit of time to De Bont. Possibly tried to get close and send a move, but not able to capitalise. So with only a few minutes left to go of this race, it is De Bont leading the way. Fastest lap going away of Friedman in second. Leading silver is Langley in third overall. We've got Ramsell in P4, Wright P5, Goudet in P6 and Duff in P7, Yo P8 with Cox P9, 10th is Aberdeen, while 11th is Varga, Flop is 12th, Storrock, your leading bronze driver in 13th ahead of Marsden in 14th. Then we've got Hovrath in 15th, Archer 16th, Smith 17th, Bell 18th, 19th is Tipping and Stardog is 20th. And we've lost, who did we lose? Cherrymore, I think we've lost Cherrymore, so no Cherrymore for the rest of this session. And Flop and Varga continuing on their onslaught with one another. Contact earlier on between the two. And Varga with a poor exit there out Williams. He's going to be vulnerable going down the Bentley straight. Through into Corums they go. And out into Murray's, and Varga goes a little bit wide. That's a mistake. That's going to put him under pressure. Meanwhile, 2 laps to go, I reckon. And once again, De Bont is under more pressure. Matt Wright also is under pressure from John Goudet. Trying to hold him off for P4. John looking to go tucking underneath. He gets side by side with Matt Wright. They get close to one another. Into Palmer they go. Can John stick it around the outside? Matt Wright's going to keep it there. Gets on the curb a little bit too much. The car becomes loose. And John gets the job done. Another position to gain for him. But he goes a little bit deep into then Agostini. And Matt Wright just comes back up the inside. And job done once again. But John bouncing over the dirt there. He's still behind Matt Wright. Can't find a way through. And once again, Friedman gets close to De Bont, but not close enough. And then heading into Oggies. And John can't go through there. Cox, meanwhile, still got Aberdeen for company. Flop and Varga still going at it with one another. And Hovrath now has dropped, got ahead of Smith. So, yeah, Smith losing another position there to Hovrath. And Archer still keeping them behind. But coming into the final few corners now, you're leading two, really pushing the limits of one another. They go into Coram and into Murray's. They're going to have one more tour round this fabulous circuit of Snetterton. A good exit there from Friedman, but he's not going to get the run on De Bont. De Bont pretty much defending for his entire life here. We've lost Langley, actually. Where's Langley's had a mistake somewhere. I missed that. Langley's had a mistake somewhere. He's dropped down to 12th. So that puts Ramsell on the podium. And I think his first time on the podium. Meanwhile, John Goudet is going to send it up the inside of Matt Wright. They're going to go into turn one. And off goes Matt Wright. Off into Riches. And John, meanwhile, slows down to wait for Matt Wright. Matt Wright has got going. He's trying not to take the boards out, but he ends up dropping behind Aberdeen and Cox. Where is John? He's continued on, actually, and not waited for Matt Wright. He's lost the position to Duffin. Meanwhile, your top two. And again, Friedman not able to attack him. And down the back straight, down the Bentley straight. There you go. And it looks like De Bont looking good, looking solid at the minute. He's still having to defend through the last few corners here. Into a bomb hole they go. Now just Coram and Murray's to survive. But Friedman has thrown absolutely everything at him. But it's not going to come to any avail. De Bont, meanwhile, is looking good. He's looking strong. He's coming out of the final corner here. And he's going to take another race win. De Bont wins here at Snetterton ahead of John Goudet. Not John Goudet, ahead of Friedman, sorry. Meanwhile, out at the final corner, his first podium of the season in the Ginettas. It is Rob Ramsell takes third place here. A great drive from him. Duffin in the end takes P4. John in the end P5. Darren Yeo in P6. Cox in P7. Aberdeen in P8. Matt Wright P9. Varga P10. Flop P11. Langley 12th. Storrock 13th. Marsden in 14th. Archer 15th. Hovrath is going to finish in 16th place position, with Smith finishing in 17th. No, sorry. Smith is going to get ahead of Hovrath for 16th, ahead of Hovrath. Then it's Tipping for 18th, Stardog in 19th, and Bell in 20th place. And that is that. We'll be back in a few moments' time as we will get the rest of the night ahead. We've got one more qualifying and one more race to go. We'll be back in a few moments' time. And we are back once again, ladies and gentlemen. A pretty short break we had there. Excuse me, as we now get our things ready to go. Is it in fixed setups or is it personal setups? It's all fixed, Berserker, so all these drivers can choose. It's not fixed, sorry. Duh. It's standard. It's whatever they want to run, they can run whatever setup they like. Majority of them tend to like to run a couple of online setups. Tend to be like Go setups or Coach Dave or something along those lines. That's tend to be the kind of go-to of what they like to run. As we now get things underway for our third and final qualifying session. As they all steam their way out of the pits and heading down towards the far end of the circuit. Regarding the championship, it looks like this. It is O'Reilly still leading the way with 322 points still in front, with Friedman in P3. Those three are still the only ones who are mathematically in for this championship. Darren Yeo now P4 and Goudet P5, Matt Wright P6, McGowan P7, Ramsell P8, with Skunky P9, Langley 10th with Aberdeen 11th. 12th is Leach, Millington 13th, Varga 14th, Flott 15th, Tipping 16th, DeBont 17th, Archer 18th, Cherrymore 19th, Marsden 20th, Cranes 21st, Smith 22nd, Bolton 23rd with Bell 24th, Taylor 25th with Hovrath 26th, Hoffner 27th, Stardog 28th, Stork 29th, 30th is Cox, Johnson 31st, Cummings in 32nd, Williams in 33rd, Best in 34th, and Raiden bringing up the rear. It's Team GBR now lead the way ahead of Dapper in second. Third is SimPlay Racing with Team RRM in P4, Greasy Bandits in P5, and Quantum Motorsport in P6. P7 is Team Piston Pounders with 8 going away of Ball Busters Racing. C GT Motorsport in P9 with Roadrunners in P10. Lexi's Industry in 11th with G and R. G&D Racing in 12th. Blunt 4 Racing 13th. Team Audio Sport 14th. Soldor 15th. 2Cs Racing 16th. OWR Racing 17th. Team FBR 18th. And Apex Racing bringing up the rear. So we are now into this qualifying session, the final one of the night, and the question is who is going to come out on top of this one. Once again, it's a quick session, so they haven't got a lot of time to get the lap times on the board, and they need to make sure the lap times are good and consistent. Stuffin works his way through Brundle and Nelson, the leading car at the minute. SimPlay Racing is a team of the channel. Yes, it is. So obviously the channel itself is called SimPlay Motorsport, and obviously SimPlay Racing is a team within some of the admin members and some of the drivers. Also, we like to go outside of SimPlay and race, so it's under SimPlay Racing. So for example, we go to other leagues, especially like endurance events, and we team up in there, SimPlay Racing. So it kind of sticks with this on here as well. You'll see them in the pro as well. Duffin sets the pace with a 57.2, but he already gets the boats down by Flop and Ramsell. Smith comes in behind in P4. As Yo now comes to the line, he goes fastest overall. He goes first with a 56.5, and next across the line is Goudet. He goes P4. Duffin's returned back to the pits. Not sure why he's ended up in the traffic. He's not going to get out in time, I don't think. Well, he's going to get out in time, but he's going to be in the traffic, so it's going to hurt him quite badly. Matt Wright in the end, P4. Friedman goes fastest overall into a 56.3. And who else crossing the line? That was Archer. He goes into 9th. And Berserker, yes, it is pretty cool. Like I said, when we go to other leagues and channels, that's when we tend to bring out the SimPlay Racing name, but also the SimPlay Racing name on here, with some of the admin members a part of the team. So who else has crossed the line? No one else has put a lap time on the board. We are waiting to see where De Bont is. De Bont, I think, has crossed the line. No, he has not. He's now into the final few corners, actually. Is he going to make it 3 from 3? He comes now into the final few corners here. To the line goes De Bont. And it's invalid lap time. So he's going to have to try again. To the far end of the circuit we go. It is Ramsel and Flop who are both on a lap time. Did you race on Le Mans Ultimate? I've had a go on Le Mans Ultimate. I haven't raced properly on it yet. Or are you talking in general on the channel? As Ramsel comes to the line, no improvement nor for Flop. But they will get another lap time on the board as Darren Yeo comes out of the final corner. Can he nab pole position away from Friedman? If Le Mans Ultimate comes to console, then we will be interested in going over to that. But at this moment in time, it's not on our agenda as it's only PC and we are a console league. Cox goes into P7 and more lap times going to come on our way. Aberdeen does not improve. Matt Wright goes pole position though. Fastest lap of the session. And now we've only got a few more cars to come to the line. Will Friedman has taken that back. Obviously, with the introduction of possibly Rensport and also Project Motorsport as well, it could be an interesting one to see what we are able to do with them. Duffin does cross the line and get one more lap, so it's do or die here for him as the Storrock. So everyone now on their last laps here, and it is De Bont who is under pressure here. Through the final few corners, can De Bont get the lap time on the board that he needs? He's going to push it right to the end here. But here he comes. De Bont to the line. Is it pole position? Yes, it is. No stress for him. He takes pole position away from Will Friedman unless Friedman can find that 10th of a second and nab it back. He's in towards the final end of the circuit. Darren Yeo, also far end of the circuit. I believe it's Flop who's going to be the first to come to the line. And it is Flop. He's coming down and he's going into pit lane. So he's not going to complete his lap. It is now down to Yo. Currently 4th at the minute. I think he did stay valid. So that's good for him. He now comes to the line. And Darren Yeo does not improve. He stays where he is. John Goudet, meanwhile, exits the final corner. Will Friedman still on a lap. Also, I think that is Aberdeen coming to the line first. It is. And Aberdeen, he does improve to go to 7th. And Goudet improves as well. Varga 11th. And a few drivers on the cusp. Does Friedman go fastest overall? A 10th to find. He does not find it at all. And Friedman there, not able to find the time. A few drivers left. Here comes the 4-1-1. That is Archer to the line. Now he improves to go to 13th. Did Duffin more importantly improve? He did. He goes P8 with that one. And Storrock in the end finishing in 13th place position as Cherrymore got back into the session. No, he did not. Not from my camera. So that was that. Another solid qualifying session from the guys there. And De Bont and Friedman once again going at it wheel to wheel. Another exciting race ahead of us once again. And boy, am I excited about this one. It is going to be a titanic battle once again between Friedman and De Bont, as we will get a pole out for race winner and then obviously a driver of the day. A reminder to any of the drivers who have made it onto the podium tonight, feel free to drop into the comments box and we will do a interview with them. And guys, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel and hit that bell to notified so you don't miss anything here at SimPlay Motorsport. And a very different qualifying session once again. And there you go. Race 3 winner gets your votes in on who you think is going to win this one. Wright is not far. He's very, very close indeed. He's going to be on the inside of turn 1. It seems to be the outside of turn 1 tends to be the kind of go-to move at the minute. So we'll see what happens there.
10 seconds.
But we are ready and raring to go for the third and final time tonight. Enjoy myself tomorrow night as I'll be bringing you the action once again, but instead of the Whodarron Cup, which is in honour of one of our drivers that we sadly lost last season. Join me tomorrow night as I'll be live for the Pro-Am Championship. The GT3s will be hitting the circuit. 1 sprint and 1 feature to come our way. And we will go through the running order once again. De Bont starts on pole position, making it a 3rd time and a grand slam of qualifying sessions tonight. Will Friedman once again in 2nd, so that rounds out your top 2 all night long. Klaus in the track saying this track is actually not that bad. I would class it as not that bad. I would agree, not that bad. It's still not my favourite, but it's a bit meh. Matt Wright will start P3 with Darren Yeo starting P4. Flock will start P5 with Ramsdell at P6. Goudet P7 with Duffin P8. Aberdeen P9 with Cox in P10. Varga P11. Stardog P12 with Storrock in P13. Archer in 14th with Smith in 15th. Hovrath in 16th with Bell in 17th. Marsden in 18th. Tipping in 20th. And Langley will start from pit lane. So he's not going to make the start of this one. Yep, never tried it, but I like it, says Berserker. I think with this circuit, there's nothing... It's kind of bland for me, this circuit. I think compared to the rest of the British circuits, if you're not classing the circuit itself as quite bland, there's nothing for me that excites me about Snet. There's nothing that really shouts, yes, I'm going to Snetterton, I'm going to enjoy this round. So for me, I don't see the appeal in the circuit, but that's just me. I do think there's other British circuits. Tyres are cold. They are cold. They're going to have to get them prepped and ready to go for this one. As they now come down the Bentley straight for the final preparation of the night. Once again, it is De Bont versus Friedman on the front row. Who is going to be king of Snet? That is the question. 1 apiece for De Bont and Friedman at the minute, though. Friedman with the advantage with more points scored than De Bont. As they now come into the final corner. And we're about to get ready and underway here for the final time for the Whodarron Cup at Snetterton. Pro-Am tomorrow night. Who's going to take the crown there? Is it Vitus or is it Langley? Or is it going to be somebody else? Can Varga nick a race win towards the end? Who knows? Excuse me. Excuse me. Sorry, guys. And in the Pro, is O'Reilly going to make Pro class? And can the Team Audio Sport drivers, Ben and myself, stop him from taking the championship? Who knows? But it comes down to this. It is De Bont versus Friedman. Who's going to win? As you now wait for starters' orders here at Snetterton for the final time. And we are green and go for the final time at Snet. And it looks like Matt Wright gets the jump. And so does De Bont. Friedman going to try to go around the outside once again. But he's going to have to fall into position as contact there made by John. And Duffin goes wide. And John facing the wrong way. Has he been collected? No, he hasn't. As everyone else has dispersed off to the circuit. Cox has gone off and a few others as well. I'm not sure who's that well off into the runoff area. That is Stardog. And a little bit of drama coming into the first couple of laps here. But Matt Wright is ahead of Yo, ahead of Ramsell. And Duffin looking to make a move on Flop as they now go wheel to wheel. Heading down to the left-hander of Agostini. Duffin going to try and break later. Aberdeen getting close to the back of him as well, but not able to capitalise there. As your top 5 pull away from the rest of the pack. But John Goudet, not the start he would have wanted. As they go through the first couple of corners. And DeBont leads ahead of Friedman once again. Matt Wright in third, Darren Yeo in fourth, Ramsell in fifth, Flop dropping down to seventh as Duffin gets ahead of him. Aberdeen and Varga are close. Varga looking like he's making a move on Aberdeen. Aberdeen going very defensive down the back straight, and Varga's already got the job done. And through he goes. Storick now into 10th, ahead of Smith, ahead of Bell, ahead of Hovrath, ahead of Marston, ahead of Cox, ahead of Tipping, ahead of Archer. Then it's Goudet, Stardog, and Langley did not make the start. He did say he might have to miss a race. He's got a little bit of, I think, a couple of meetings going on at the minute. So Langley not making this one. As we come into the final corner, it is DeBont from Friedman ahead of Wright, and Yo now Flop onto the back of Duffin. Runs a little bit wide. Oh, and in the background now, I think that was possibly Archer getting onto the dirt. He was, and is trying to get past Tipping, but not quite close enough to Tipping at this minute in time. Varga, meanwhile, pressurising Flop. These two have not left each other alone all night long. As up the inside goes Cox on Marsden, and he might get the job done. No, Marsden's coming back underneath. He does the up and under, but Cox gets to the inside first, and Marsden having to go to the outside of the circuit. Meanwhile, your top two once again close to one another and already pulling away from the pack. Getting the gap they need. Meanwhile, Varga still trying to put Flop under pressure. Aberdeen is with him, with Storick as well. Storick having a good little race here. But Ramsell now onto the back of Yo, who's putting also pressure. Yo on the back of Wright. So they're all quite close for this third place position. They're going to be fighting it as much as they can for this final podium position. It's pretty been DeBont and Friedman locking out the front. And like Friedman in the chat, when both your cars are pretty much identical in pace, it's very difficult to overtake. Meanwhile, Varga gets a little bit loose further back. You see Bell there looking to get close to the guys in front, but not able to go with the pack at the minute. Cox also just on the back of Smith and Bell. Looking a little bit close there, going into Brundle and Nelson, but no contact is made. Good racing there. And into Corum's and Murray's once again for the second time. And again, these two just pulling away. Matt Wright holding off the pack at the minute, holding a strong P3 ahead of Yo and ahead of Ramsell. Duffin just sat there in the foreground looking to try and make a way through. Yo, meanwhile, has been stuck behind Wright for quite some time for most of these races and has struggled to really find a good opportunity to get past Wright. Possible contact. Meanwhile, DeBont's made a mistake as Friedman now looks to the outside of the hairpin, and DeBont closing the door there, and Friedman can't find the way through. Runs a little bit wide, and these two just holding up one another for the pack just to get ever so slightly close, give him a tease that they could get through. Meanwhile, Cox looking to make a move on Smith. He comes underneath him, going to go around the outside, heading into them Palmers. And Smith goes wide. Cox comes underneath, but Smith holds. Oh, and contact there. Smith returns back onto the circuit. Cox keeps it together, though, and keeps it facing the right way. Meanwhile, Tipping has got pressure from Archer behind. Thinks for a moment there, did Archer to send it, but he's not close enough. Meanwhile, DeBont and Friedman still close to one another, under half a second between them. And Matt Wright within 1.4 of him, so we can see the action going on ahead of him. Down the Bentley straight they go. Friedman again, that weight on board just going to hurt him in a straight line. They are detaching from the back. Yes, they are indeed, the Berserker, and they're trying their best to stick with him, but they can't at the moment. Matt Wright looks like he kicked a little bit of the dirt as he went through Nelson. Again, rest of the pack all just spreading out. John Goudet now coming onto the back of Hovrath. Goudet looking to find a way through up the inside through Corums. Hovrath is going to go wide though. Is that going to give the door opening to John? He's not quite close enough and has to back out of it. And a good exit out of the final corner for John. This is probably going to set him up beautifully for turn number 1. We're just ahead of him is Cox attacking Bell as well, and Hovrath there not losing out to John there. As Bell still defending heavily from Cox there. Cox with a little bit of a damaged car by the looks of things. A little bit roughed up. But we go back to the front. The Bont and Friedman still racing hard at one another. It's allowed Matt Wright just to sneak onto the back of the pair of them. So Matt Wright now in an opportunity to possibly gain some positions here. Darren Yeo still ahead of the SimPlay duo of Ramsell and Duffin. Go into Agostini. And down the Bentley straight. There you go once again. What other fights we've got going on at the minute? Further back, we've still got Cox versus Bell. Goudet still against Hovrath. Cox now looking for a possible opportunity going down towards Murray's. He's not quite there. Meanwhile, John is going to send it on Hovrath and he gets the job done in into Murray's. Can he keep it together in Nelson? Yes, he does. And a position gained for himself there. Aberdeen, meanwhile. Oh, that is Ramsell. He's gone off in a very strange position there. And Duffin gets ahead of him. So Ramsell having his own little moment by the looks of things and drops down the order. And the leading two once again comes through. And it is De Bont ahead of Friedman, ahead of Wright, ahead of Yeo. Majority reckon that De Bont is going to win this one. So we come up to the halfway stage of this race. We're going to end the poll there momentarily as Bell is under pressure now from not just Cox but also Goudet as well. And John right onto the back bumper of Cox. Giving the flash of the light saying that he's coming through. Varga meanwhile still giving Flop a bit of a headache. And Aberdeen just behind them as well. Well, Cox goes a little bit deep through there. That's possibly going to give John an opportunity up the inside, but not quite. He's able to salvage it and keep ahead. Friedman another fast out of the race. Even though he's got that weight on board, he is incredibly fast in the race and is able to adapt to the racing situation. 3/10 once again between these two, and De Bont just doing everything right so far, but is just not able to make a mistake at the minute, which is just allowing Will Freeman just to possibly get a little bit frustrated. What has happened to Duffin now? He's dropped behind this pack, so he's made a mistake somewhere. And he's now behind Flop, Varga, Aberdeen, and Ramsell's with him as well. So mistakes starting to creep in. Meanwhile, Goudet on the back of Cox here as they go through Bombhole. Now into the final few corners here, heading down to Murray's. That is Aberdeen. He's had an offer as well. He's kicked up the dirt, so now he's dropped behind. So anyone who wants to be in 5th place at the minute ends up making a mistake. Varga's now dropped behind Flop. Oh no, he's always been behind Flop as we get to the halfway stage of this race, and we'll end the poll there. And De Bont and Friedman still 0.2 of a second separated as Matt Wright's made a mistake. He's gone wide, and Darren Yeo will now get into 3rd place position. So Matt Wright there making a crucial error there and drops back the 51. That is Cox. That is track limits, and he's had a spin as well. He's gone round And not only has he got a drive through, but he's also got a spin as well. And the rest of the pack come up behind him, tipping and Archer. And Marsden joining the party there. Right, not giving up on Darren Yeo though, so he could possibly make his way back through, and Friedman's still not giving up on De Bont. And we've now got Duffin trying to hunt down Varga, and he's bringing Ramsel with it. Aberdeen drops behind them. Car kicking up the dirt further back, and that was Stardog, who's pushing the limit. Smith looks like he's got major damage to his car. Yes, he has. So he's dropped out of this one. Yo ahead of Wright, so that fight is still going to go on to the end, I think, with only 9 minutes left to go of this session. This last attempt for some of these guys. Flop, Varga, Duffin, Ramsel and Aberdeen all close to one another. Storak having a good little race here. And Goudet now onto the back of Bell. Can John Goudet find a way through on Darren Bell as they go through bomb hole? Into Corums they go, heading down towards Murray's. John on a little bit of a recovery drive here. Through the final corner he goes. Meanwhile, just dropped off the back of De Bont once again. These guys are all coming on through, no real movers. Here we go, Goudet down the inside of Bell. Goudet goes wide, Bell's going to come back underneath, and job done once again. So Bell holds off his boss and keeps the position. Through the left-hander. Go. Can Bell hold off Goudet? That's the question. Archer, by the looks of things, has got ahead of Marsden, so possibly a mistake from Marsden. John not able to capitalise at the minute. 0.8 of a second separated Friedman and De Bont, so that gap has extended. Matt Wright's got a little bit closer to Yo. And Duffin once again gets closer to Varga. But John goes up the inside of Bell through Oggies, gets the job done. Bell all over the grass there as he goes through Williams. And Goudet gets the position back on Bell there. So he makes another position back up. There's a big gap to Storup, meanwhile, ahead of him. Is Bell thinking possibly come back at him through into Brundle and Nelson? No, he's not. He hits too much of the curb, and that's going to unsettle his car and drop him further back. 0.9 of a second was the gap between these two. What's it going to be this time round? It is 0.7. So Friedman is catching him again. Half a second separating Yo and Wright. That's extended to 1.2. So Matt Wright is just losing pace to Darren Yo at the minute. Flop ahead of Varga, ahead of Duffin, and ahead of Ramsel. And Aberdeen not too far away. Storak in P10. Doing it well for the bronze driver there. Solid drive from him. Goudet ahead of Bell for that 11th and 12th place. Then it's Hovrath sat in the 13th place position. Then we've got Archer in 14th ahead of Marston, then ahead of Tipping. And then just behind them it is Stardog coming down the back straight. And then not too far behind them it is Smith, who's got major damage to the front end of his car. Cox in 19th, and Langley has got out and started driving, but obviously it is just for pride now, and possibly if he can nab the fastest lap of the race away. And Varga meanwhile has lost the position to Duffin, so Duffin has got ahead of Benny Varga. Position he goes with Varga, won't allow him to get away with him that too much, so Varga is going to try and come back at him. I'm pretty sure he will. Duffin goes out onto the dirt a little bit. Varga, twitchy back end of that car though. And Yo and Matt Wright, the gap has kind of stabilised between them. Flop a solid P5. Duffin is going to take a lot to catch Flop, I think, but Varga is going to still give Duffin a bit of a hard time towards the end of this race. Looks like Master's getting back onto the rear wing of Archer. Goudet is trying to catch Whodarron. As Goudet actually, sorry, was ahead of Bell. He's made a mistake somewhere and has dropped back behind them once again. So Goudet making a mistake there and has dropped him further back. De Bont, meanwhile, still holding off Friedman at the moment. Gap is close, but not really close enough to really stem an attack. Marsden close to Archer, and again, a little bit of a moment on the exit of the corner there. Really disturbed his car and didn't allow him to capitalise. As Varga makes a mistake, and that's going to allow Ramsell just to slowly start creeping onto the back of him. As we're getting to the final stages of this race. Through into the final few corners we go once again. 3 minutes left on the clock, and 3 minutes left to really stem an attack. Flop makes a mistake through Williams there, and that's allowing Duffin to get closer. Ramsell's close to Varga. Whodarron meanwhile has been passed by Goudet. Goudet goes back ahead. Marston still close to Archer, but no real opportunity there as they head out into the final corner. There's been some great racing nonetheless, and it's been awesome to commentate once again on some fantastic racing, and these two have just been phenomenal to watch. De Bont and Friedman have been fabulous all night long. So we're going to get driver of the day. Friedman makes a mistake there. As I was typing away, I missed the start of that. So Friedman making a slight error there. And that's allowed De Bont to just pull away ever so slightly. He goes wide out of the final corner, and as he ended up in the wall, yes, he has hit the wall as well. So a big off and a big moment there for him. Meanwhile, Storrock's made a mistake as Goudet's got ahead of him, so Storrock's dropped further back. So Goudet's worked his way back up quite significantly as Ramsell is now onto the back of Varga. So I'm just trying to think of drivers of the day to put in here. Third driver of the fourth driver of the day. Obviously, guys, get your votes in if you want to type it in the chat. I think De Bont is now safe and clear from Friedman. Varga still defending heavily from Ramsell here. Leader starts the final lap. De Bont starts the final lap here at Snetterton for the final time tonight, and Ramsell still giving Varga a bit of a headache. Driver of the day vote is out, so get your votes in on who you think wins that one. And comes down the inside goes Rob Ramsell, and he just about gets it done, but Varga gives him a slight tap, which unsettles the rear of the car. And Ramsell just loses out once again to Varga. Well, the fight's going on at the minute. Not much at the moment. Archer gets close to Whodarron, but not really anything to attack. Bell, meanwhile, is back into pit lane. So Smith gains a position out of that one. Duffin trying to catch Flop, but I don't think he's going to get him in the end. Darren Yeo holding off Matt Wright. So De Bont looking good at the minute for another win to his name. As they come into the final few corners here now for the final time at Snetterton Pro-Am tomorrow night. Giving you all the action is myself once again. And we continue the action between Langley and Vitas. Vitas yet not confirmed if he's racing or not, but we will see possibly him on circuit. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel and hit the bell to be notified, and have a look at our fantastic sponsors, Design Manchester and Audio Sport. But for the final time tonight, the final corner, here comes De Bont. He is going to take the win once again here at Snetterton. A great job from him, and he wins the race. Friedman takes fastest lap of the race as well, with Darren Yeo finishing in P3. Matt Wright in P4 with Flop in P5, or is he? He's being hunted down by Duffin, but he does hold him off in the end. So Duffin P6. P7 is Ramsell. P8 will be Aberdeen in the end as Varga lost out. Varga dropping down to 9th. John Goudet in the end finishing in 10th place position. Storrock is going to finish in 11th ahead of Hovrath. Then it's Archer, then it's Marston. Tipping is going to finish ahead of Stardog. Here comes Tipping's cross the line in 15th place position. Stardog in 16th. Cox is going to finish in 17th. Smith in the end dropping down to 18th, and Bell rounding off the grid with 19th, and Langley in 20th position. And that was that. Some great racing nonetheless. It's been awesome to commentate once again as Langley coming to the end of this race. And once again, like I said, any of the drivers that finished in the podium positions tonight and wants to be in the comms box, then feel free to drop in. That is any of the drivers who finished in the top 3. And here comes Langley now to complete the grid. He finishes the race. Bell's halfway around the circuit after being in the pits for so long. But Langley crossed the line in 19th place position. We lost Cherry Moore, and I believe we lost another driver. We've lost Star Dog, but I think he's left. Brilliant. But either way, that is the end of race 3. As we now wait for Bell to complete the order. Right, and also championship standings will be coming at you very, very soon as well. But that is all we have time for the Whodarron Cup. We do have 2 drivers with us in the comms box. We'll start with Ramsell. Rob, before we got underway tonight, I heard a lot of swearing, a lot of anger towards Snetterton in general. But it's been very good to you tonight. You got your first podium in the Whodarron Cup, so you've got to be relatively happy doing it here at Snet.
It's always hard one to get the balance right at the start, but I think when I got straight into the in not necessarily the first quali, still struggled then, but when I started getting into the race and the quali after, just sort of got the flow for it. As soon as I got in the flow, started coming together. So really enjoyed that for saying where I was at the start.
Yeah, it did look like obviously yourself, Matt as well, your 2 teammates, looking like you had quite a titanic battle with the team GBR boys. Obviously, the 2 of you now and Dapper Racing going at it for the constructors has come right down to the wire between you guys. How much pressure were those guys putting on you? Because it seemed like it was an intense battle pretty much most of the evening.
Yeah, throughout the whole night, both of them, trading places at some points, and just hard racing, because I say nobody can afford to have any accidents or anything like that, because points dropped at this stage will make a massive difference. So I think just the pressure of that alone to try and keep it clean, not only between ourselves but between everyone else as well. That definitely put some stress on top of the racing tonight.
Obviously, you've been having up and down moments with these Ginettas in general this season, but coming to the far end of the season now, we've only got 2 races left, Valencia and Donington. Valencia next. How are you feeling about going around there? And obviously a quick word about possibly Thursday night as well in the Ferrari and how you're going to get on then.
Yeah, so I'll start with the Ferrari first. Again, I think, don't hold me to it, but I either got my first win 2 seasons ago here, or it was a 1-2 for Cam Racing back in the day. So I feel strong at this track. I know the Ferrari, I kind of quite settled here. So as long as I keep my head down, stay out of trouble, I think the strategy side of things a bit I'm sort of struggling with. Obviously, it's a very demanding circuit. The heat's not too excessive, so it's going to be a gamble what other people around me to do, I think. So that's going to be the trick really for that one. Going forward to Valencia, it's a bit of a weak track for me. Not really done much there, but it's a very flowing track with it being a bike track. So I'm hopefully, again, once I get in my groove of things, I'll get back to where I need to be. Because like I say, season's been very, very rocky for me. I've just been caught up in sort of mid-pack battles start of the season when I didn't get the car set up quite right. But as the season's gone, I've now got the balance of the setup better now. So pushing the front end and trying to stay out them fights and the battles that don't really end well. So, but yeah, stress next week. Just try and get my head down. But I know Donington will come strong. It's by far my strongest track, and it's home race for me. So I absolutely love that place. So get next week out of the way. Need a good result next week, and hopefully the rest will follow them.
Well, nonetheless, mate, congratulations on the podium tonight and a job well done this evening.
Good, mate, thank you.
And we now go to Matthew Duffin. Obviously, race 1, you took 2nd place. A little bit of an advantage in race 1. Obviously, the server not quite updating correctly. But either way, 2nd place is 2nd place. And again, yourself, a bit of a titanic fight between yourself and the GBR boys. And SimPlay Racing really batting out for this Constructors' Championship. Oh, wait, hang on. I muted him accidentally. My bad. 2 seconds. No, I don't want to do that. There we go. We should be able to hear him now.
Can you hear me now, yeah?
Yep.
Yeah, you know, it's a great fight. You know me, I'm always going to fight till the very end. And, you know, great battle with the Team GBR boys. Daz and John have done a cracking job all season to be in the position they're in. You know, they've drove really well. Times where I've drove poorly for my standards this season. You know, I know I've carried a lot of weight all year, but it's no excuse for me from my standards. But no, it's been a good battle with John and Daz. John especially this season, he's stepped up no end. I think John's been, you know, we've known what Daz can do on his day. I think John's been the surprise package. He stepped up quite a bit and has really shown, you know, where he's at now as a driver, and it's good to see him up there. So it's a good fight. You know, it's going to go down to the wire. I think this one. I think it's going to be tight between us and Dapper. Obviously, O'Reilly's going to be hoping that Cairns can come back from his injuries to help him win that Constructors. But yeah, no, race 1 glitched out. Not sure what happened there. The server was set correctly. Gave us no weight, so it helped me and Friedman a little bit there. De Bomb put me on a massive amount of pressure the entire race. But no, good night all in all.
Obviously not much heard from you this season. Obviously, talk about the dramatic change. Obviously, a few times me and you have had discussions outside of the server and outside the championship, and how much of a dramatic change are going from the Mercedes-Benz to the Ginetta once again. Obviously, the Ginetta used to race back in the day, but that Mercedes tends to have a little bit more grunt than this car and just seemed a little bit under pressure this season.
Yeah, I felt under pressure. I felt like I've put myself under more pressure than anything else. There's been times where I've been absolutely, you know, down in the dumps because of my performance and nothing else really. I know incidents happen, things happen in racing. That's part of motorsport. But yeah, going from the Ginetta to the Merc a few seasons ago was easier than going from the Merc to the Ginetta. I feel it's been a whole different ballgame. And as well, you know, we've gone from GT4s to just Ginettas only. So it's a level playing field. You know, last season and the season before, when I had 40 kilos of ballast and chasing O'Reilly last year with 40 kilos, different story, because different tracks suited different cars. The same for everybody out there in the same car. You know, the tracks are going to be good for the Ginetta or be bad for the Ginetta. Everybody's going to be in the same boat. So it's how you test, it's how you prepare and get yourself ready for it. Look, O'Reilly stepped up another level this season. He seems to be on a superhuman level this year. So hats off to him. De Bont's come in. He's done a terrific job. All right, he's not run ballast apart from his first week, but you know, he's done a terrific job. Friedman slow starting and then has been on fire, you know, quarter of the way through the season. And then like I say, you know, McGowan and Skunky's been back to their best. John has really stepped up his game. Then you've had Daz, Matt Wright's been there or thereabouts, you know, on the odd week. Rob tonight, you know, you've had Benny Varga, Flop's been there. So it's been a tough pack, and I think the difference from Ginetta to the Merc is the fact that everybody's running the same. You can't no longer have a car advantage on a certain circuit.
No, and that's it. Obviously, we moved to Valencia next. The last time we went to Valencia, things didn't quite go to plan. But either way, we do head to the famous circuit, the home of Valentino Rossi. Opinions on the circuit and what you can do there. Obviously, drivers is, let's be honest, it's done and dusted. It's not going to happen, let's be honest. But it's the constructors that's now on the go. Yeah, I was hoping you weren't going to open your mouth and say that.
Oh, sorry, apologies.
I was going to leave it for O'Reilly to enjoy the moment, but you know, okay.
Valencia, not a fan, don't like it. Bike circuit, not a big fan of the bike circuits. The last time I ran the Ginetta, it felt very horrible around there. Felt really horrible. Obviously, we all know what happened last time. If you don't, go back and watch it. Yeah, I've not really driven it too much other than that the season a while back. So it's going to be. Yeah, I'm unsure. It's going to be hard. It's going to be hot. By all, you know, look, I had a quick look at the weather. I know it's next week, but it looks absolutely scorching in Spain at the minute. So it's going to be hot. Could be a hard one on the tyres, even in 20-minute races with just fast sprint racing.
Well, nonetheless, mate, congratulations on the second place, and we'll catch you in the comments box tomorrow on Thursday night when the pros win the circuit. That is it for those guys. For me, for driver of the day, I'm going to go the way of Rob Ramsell tonight. He's obviously been struggling all season long, and he finally had a night of good results and good points. Obviously, De Bont in the chat has taken driver of the day, but for commentator driver of the day, I'm going to give it to Rob. He's been on top this tonight. Fantastic fight once again by De Bont and Friedman, and obviously Matt spoiling it ever so slightly for me there, but Kieran O'Reilly, even though he did not turn up tonight, he is now the Whodarron Cup Ginetta GT champion. Obviously, drop scores still taking effect here at Snetterton, and he is now champion once again in the GT4s. He's done it once and he's done it again. Obviously, now can he take the constructors as well with Dapper? It's going to be a very, very tall order to do that, but he is going to obviously still give it his best shot. He's now got one eye set on one more title, and that is the Pro. We'll see if he turns up for that one. But nonetheless, it's been a great night's worth of racing. I've been Dan Davis. This has been the Whodarron Cup, and I will see you all tomorrow night for more racing action at the Pro-Am Championship. Langley versus Vites. Who's going to win it? We'll check it all out tomorrow night, once again here at Snetterton. Good night.